So when we're in debt, we spent money we didn't have. So now when suddenly you get money, it's not even yours. You're already obligated to someone else. So it's really weird. Just imagine, for example, if I lent you money, Carrie, I lend you $10,000 and you're like, I'll pay you back, I'll pay you back, I'll pay you back. Okay. And then you get a $2,000 bonus. And then you're like, hey guys, check out my new handbag. And I'm like, you're what? You know what I mean? You're like, I just needed to treat myself. I'm like, you did, right? Well, it would just, it's kind of got that attitude about it. And even though the debt you might owe might be to an institution or something like that, it still has that same, it's not out of integrity. It's just slightly out of integrity. It's just a tiny whisper out of integrity. It's a degree out of integrity. But if we keep those behaviors up, we end up in time a lot out of integrity. And so what we want to do is we want to pull all this back and just tighten up for a short amount of time in order to get things back aligned.
I've been in the kitchen again.
You're always in the kitchen. What do you mean again? Like in the last 4 minutes, you are cooking and baking every day.
Yeah, but I mean, I tried something new again. Guess what I made now?
Probably something I don't like. That's why you're telling me. So pickle pie.
Ooh, no, but I would eat that for sure. I made yogurt.
Yogurt what?
Just yogurt. I made yogurt
From scratch?
from scratch.
Why? Are you going to be one of those homesteaders?
Well, listen, if we ever need yogurt now and the stores run out, I'll make it for you because now I know how.
Did you have to milk a goat or something to make it happen? Or did you just,
Okay, listen. All I did was I bought a gallon of milk and then
Mhm.
I used my pressure cooker and I made yogurt. And this was like something that I'd found like a recipe 100 years ago. And I was like, why haven't I done this yet? It was one of those things on like my Pinterest board that I hadn't done. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to finally do it. So I made yogurt and I learned so many things. First of all, it takes a really long time to make yogurt. Okay. Number two, did you know that the only difference between regular yogurt and Greek yogurt is that Greek yogurt is strained to be thicker. So you get rid of the whey, and suddenly now you have Greek yogurt. I think Greek yogurt was coming from Greece.
I did too. I just pictured a big man with probably a hairy chest and belly stirring a giant barrel.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Okay.
I thought that Greek yogurt had different ingredients or something and it was fancier and that's why I was paying more. No, it's the exact same ingredients. It's just been strained to be thicker and it sits a bit longer. So then it has more of a tart flavor to it.
Right.
But you can also make Greek yogurt.
You can make Greek yogurt or regular yogurt.
All you need is a gallon of milk. That's it.
Did you flavor it or just make it plain?
I made it plain this first time because I just wanted to see how it was going to turn out. But here's the thing, like a gallon of milk costs what, $5 ish, let's say? And then Greek yogurt for this size tub costs how much? $27.
Yeah, feels like it. Yeah.
I, with my 1 gallon of milk, came away with 7 mason jars of yogurt.
Wow. This is why it
Right?
pays to be your neighbor. They have it made because I know that you're like, I'm not going to eat all this. And off you go with all of your cool creations.
I totally gave Carrie some. She got some. And she sent me a text the other day and she's like, Finley really likes your yogurt.
That's amazing. Actually, that's really good.
Yep, that's right. And so I have one kid that really likes yogurt. He puts it in everything. He will make himself a little bowl with granola and fruit and stuff, and he'll put it in smoothies. And so far we're going through it. Like I feel like there may be a yogurt threshold at some point, but we haven't got there yet.
Did we get any good questions this week?
Okay, yeah, we do have some good stuff that's come up in our Facebook group. There's a few people actually recently that have been posting about getting bonuses at work. 'Tis the season apparently where people are getting bonuses or they're being compensated with a little extra money for some reason, and they all have questions about what they're supposed to do with this money. They want to know, is it a golden goose situation? Carmen is getting $2,000. She wants to know if she should finish filling her Q&D, if she should pay some debt, and then she also wants to know if she could possibly use a little bit of that money to buy herself a treat.
What a golden goose is an investment of some kind that produces a dividend or more cash or other little investments. So a golden goose would be the lump sum of money invested that provides some kind of return. And so you have an opportunity when you have $2,000 to choose whether or not you're going to spend it or use it, or whether or not you're going to invest it in something that's going to continue to bring you a return. And I say this because it's not the amount that determines whether or not something is a goose. It's your behavior that determines whether or not something is a goose. And in your case, based on this question, if you don't have a fully funded quick and dirty account and you've got debt and you want to treat yourself, this money's not going to serve you in a goose situation. So let me explain. Let's imagine we have two geese. They're both white. I don't want to say the brown, Carrie, because those are Canada geese and we hate Canada geese.
Yeah, they're so mean.
So beautiful white geese. And both of us have families that are starving. Your kids are hungry. My kids are hungry. We
Right.
each get a goose.
Mhm.
We have an option. If I chop the head off my goose and put it in your yogurt pressure cooker, I can cook the goose and feed my family, probably for a couple of days.
Yep.
But if you take your goose out to your backyard because you're in a homesteader now and you start to feed the goose and you name it, what would you name the goose?
Surely.
Shirley the goose.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Shirley has a beautiful time in your neighborhood and she starts laying eggs. Your kids might be hungry for a day or two, but eventually they're going to eat for life because Shirley's going to just lay all these eggs. And now you've got these eggs you can cook and feed to your kids
Mhm.
over and over and over again. And eventually, if she starts to overproduce eggs, you could probably sell some of those eggs and buy another goose with your money. And now Shirley would have a mate named what?
Rebecca.
Re- well, it probably should be a man goose. If
Randy.
Shirley and Rebecca want to get a surrogate, we could probably work something
Okay,
out.
Randy. Shirley and Randy.
Randy. Randy's a great name for a goose. So Randy's not going to be able to lay any eggs, but he can lay Shirley. And then Shirley can have maybe some baby geese. And so now you'll raise those baby geese, and the baby geese will grow up. Some of those will be female geese who will lay eggs. There's somebody out there listening right now who's like, you don't know anything about geese. And that's accurate. But my point is that I'm now back in a position where my kids are starving
Mhm.
because I
Right.
killed my goose and
Yeah.
now we're hungry again. You created a legacy for your kids. Now you've got goose meat. If you get tired of Randy, you know what I mean? You can just start culling some of the geese, but the rest of them are going to lay eggs. And so now you've got not only enough for you, but you've got enough for your grandchildren and your future grandchildren and your
Mhm.
neighbors and everybody you love is taken care of. And so in investing, you have two options. When you have a lump sum of money, you want to do what you did, which is grow these geese that are laying these eggs and producing dividends and income and other investments of some kind. What a lot of people do is what Carmen wants to do, which is I got a lump sum of money, but I'm going to kill a goose here and I'm going to treat myself along the way. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you shouldn't treat yourself. I'm just saying I can tell by the question, we don't have a handle yet on our budget or our net worth, because if we had a handle on it, there's parts of this question you wouldn't be asking. And it's okay. It's like you're brand new. You're welcome to the community. We're so glad you're here. In a couple of years, you're going to have so many geese, you're not going to know what to do with them. So wherever you're at is okay. But right now, this $2,000 is not a golden goose because you're not in a situation where you can even handle a goose right now.
Mm.
So what we have to do is get you in a place where at least we've got these basics taken care of. So you're going to finish that quick and dirty for sure with your $2,000, Carmen, and you're going to start to pay down debt. And what I would tell you is don't use this to treat yourself, because if you look back on your history of spending and you think of all the times in the past you treated yourself, if you were to add all that up, would you rather have that money today based on your current financial situation? Or would you rather have all those treats? And I'm not saying that you should deny yourself forever, because I'm not somebody who believes in this rice and beans and rice stuff. I do think you should have a life of some kind. But I think we often relate a lump sum of money to treating ourselves when in fact you owe other people this money. And so by you taking it when you've got these deficits, it's almost a little bit selfish right now. So it's not about treating yourself. That means we're putting ourselves before our other obligations, and that's not a really great financial position to be in. So what I would tell you is finish your quick and dirty. Now you're going to put your custom debt plan together, which we teach you in phase 2. And then you're going to hustle your little butt, do something to earn the $100 that you're going to treat yourself for, but you're going to create that money out of something else.
Mhm.
This $2,000 is money you've already spent because you are in debt. We have to remember that. So when we're in debt, we spent money we didn't have. So now when suddenly you get money, it's not even yours. You're already obligated to someone else. Just imagine, for example, if I lent you money, Carrie, I lend you $10,000 and you're like, I'll pay you back, I'll pay you back, I'll pay you back. And then you get a $2,000 bonus. And then you're like, hey guys, check out my new handbag. You're like, I just needed to treat myself. You did. It's kind of got that attitude about it. And even though the debt you might owe might be to an institution or something like that, it's not out of integrity. It's just slightly out of integrity. It's just a tiny whisper out of integrity. But if we keep those behaviors up, we end up in time a lot out of integrity. And
Mhm.
so what we want to do is we want to pull all this back and just tighten up for a short amount of time in order to get things back aligned. I don't know how much debt you have, Carmen, but let's say she's got $30,000 in debt and she gets some kind of big bonus or she wins the lottery or something or gets an inheritance or something for $60,000. That would be a goose in her situation. It's a big enough amount of money that we don't want to touch it, because if we start paying off that 30 grand, it's going to be gone. We don't have the money muscles or the money behaviors yet to be able to properly manage that amount of money. So we don't want to spend that. And we want to put that 60,000 aside and let it start growing while we continue on the path of using our money muscles to pay off this 30 grand that she owes in debt. At the end of the 30 grand, you can treat yourself, but you're not touching that 60. That 60 is going to grow and create more income and compound and grow and grow and grow. And then one day later, once it's grown and you've contributed more to it and you've bought more geese and you're investing and you're doing all the things that you're going to be doing a year to a year and a half from now, if you focus and pay off all this debt, as that money grows, that money is going to produce income. Now you're going to use the eggs, Carmen, to treat yourself. You're not going to kill any geese to treat yourself. You're going to use the eggs to treat yourself. And that's going to be a really abundant financial position to be in.
Okay, so these small amounts of money that we might be bonused or whatever, you're saying use that to fill the quick and dirty, start paying off debt. But if we were to land a very large goose, a larger goose, then that's money that we're not touching. Is there like a threshold? I feel like Carmen's going to ask what that amount is, what the tipping point is between being a goose and not being a goose.
Well, again, it just depends on all of your other circumstances. There's not like a number or a percentage or a threshold. So, for example, if Carmen had no debt, if Carmen was debt free and she was building her Roth IRA this year, I would be like, yeah, that's a goose. That 2 grand, put that 2 grand in your Roth. Now you only have $4,500 left in contribution room to, like, yeah, do that, girl, like invest it. It's a goose. Don't spend it. But because she's got this gaping hole over here, we got to close that hole. Her investing that 2,000, if she's got 30,000 in debt, the debt's going to compound so much faster than what she could probably do with that goose. So in that situation, it's a no. It really does depend on every individual person. And we got to look at the overall picture. And I think the bigger thing is not a numbers, it's a behaviors thing. So I've had it happen where somebody's had a lot of debt, but they received a sizable inheritance from, let's say, a grandparent or something like that. And their grandparents' intention for that money was for them to go to school or to take a trip or something like that. In that case, if you're working the program, put that money aside. Do not touch it. Don't use it for the debt. Let it grow while you build up the money muscles. This is why completing the work is so important. Your financial confidence isn't going to come from being debt free. It doesn't work that way. Your financial confidence is going to come from being the type of person who built the skills to get yourself debt free. Saying no to yourself once in a while is an amazing skill to have in order to become debt free. Do you want more? I know you do. Why wouldn't you want more? More
More
of this?
what? What do I
More,
want more of?
more of this. Come
Oh,
hang out in the online course, Forget the Hell Out of Debt. The link is in the description. You just got to click it, sign up, and we'll see you in there. What a money muscle that is to build. And it's just like going to the gym, right? We've talked about this before. When you're carrying more weight than is comfortable on your body and you're not comfortable with it, right? This is not a body shaming comment at all. There's lots of people who are happy with the shape and size of their body, and I encourage it. And I think bodies come in all sizes and off you go. For me, I was carrying more weight than I knew I was comfortable with, mostly because of what I was putting in my face, but I knew. And so in that case, it wasn't being thin or thinner that was going to bring me confidence. It was the fact that every day when I get up, I would make a decision that was in my health's best interest or in my best interest, even when I didn't feel like it. So the confidence came from going outside and walking for 45 minutes in a snowsuit in minus 30 because I told myself I was going to do it, even when I didn't feel like it. And
mhm.
doing that over and over and over again built the confidence. Now, financially speaking, it's not the $80,000 being dropped in your lap from an inheritance that builds confidence. It's the fact that you knew what to do with it and you had a long-term goal that you went after no matter what, and that you didn't let the little things get you, the $100 here or there. Because how many people listening to this podcast, I know there's lots of you, a lump sum has hit you at some point in your life and it disappeared. It dwindled. $10 here, $50 here. Next thing you know, it's gone. And that erodes confidence, financially speaking. And so the ability to not touch it is what we're building. But in order to not touch it, we have to get the hell out of debt.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, what happens is we have an investment over here and debt over here, and we take this money over here and we pay off the investment. We've built no muscles. We didn't build up the muscles required to have that inheritance that was handed to us. We didn't know the pain that grandma felt when she was putting a little bit of money away every week or month or whatever she was doing to build that little nest egg for you. So the piece that we have to focus on is this piece of set the goal, get that quick and dirty done, pay off your debt, but then continue to pay off your debt before you treat yourself. Just take a little bit extra time and find the money to treat yourself out of extra, not out of the budget that you're currently running, because you're just going to keep delaying your debt payoff by treating yourself. I'm sure you deserve it. And you also deserve to be debt free. And the future you will be so much happier getting out of debt 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months faster than if you delayed it by continually treating yourself along the way.
I think also though, when we go and find the extra money and do that extra work to then treat ourselves, we either will enjoy the treat even more because we had to work a little bit extra for it, or we're like, we don't even need this treat because I would rather put this money to work for me somewhere because look at this hard work that I did to earn it.
Yes, that's the money muscle we're talking about.
I think people also always just human nature, we're looking to cheat the system somehow. And
Mhm.
you keep saying this over and over again is that there is no way around the system. There is this program in place, everybody. It's called Get the Hell Out of Debt. You just join us in the course, and Erin walks you through how to do this. There's no way around it. People stop asking because there's no way around it. You have to go through it. You have to do it as it's outlined, and you will get the hell out of debt.
Yeah, it's cute. What's cool about almost everybody who's ever been on the podcast, when we have our success stories, they're always like, well, I followed the system and I tried for a while to do something else different. It didn't work. And then I followed it. It's like, yeah, but I'm that person too. If you tell me to do something, I don't want to do it because you told me to do it.
Right.
If you're like, the speed limit here is 100 kilometers an hour, what about 110? I'm that person too. So I fully understand and I relate. But I know for me, in order to get where I needed to go, I had to be like, Erin, pull it together, sort it out, figure it out, do it the right way. And then it eventually gets easier and easier. But if we're in the beginning, if we're right, Carmen, at that state, we don't have the quick and dirty together yet. We haven't been paying off debt, or we haven't been paying it off appropriately, like in a system that's going to work. And you're used to treating yourself, you got a long way to go. And so in your case, Carmen, you got to get that budget together and you got to get that net worth together and you got to figure out a way for that budget to increase that net worth week after week, month after month before we even talk about treating yourself.
So Angela was another one that posted in our group, and she said that she got a chunk of money, and here's what she did with it. So I want you to weigh in on this. She said she put 50% of it on debt. She put 25% of it into an emergency fund, and then the rest went to a Costco haul.
Oh, lucky Costco. Did that 50% of her debt clear the debt?
I
Doesn't
don't
sound
know.
like it because we
I don't
didn't get a phase 3 notification from her, did we?
know.
Yeah. Well, again, this is what a lot of people do, right? Is they get a lump sum of money and they start chasing too many rabbits. They start spreading it too thin. And if you've ever had multiple credit cards before and you're trying to pay them all down at once, you know it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You get a little bit somewhere, but then the interest creeps in and then you feel like you're going nowhere. So I would not recommend this strategy. I'm not a fan of if you get a big lump sum, spreading it out. You focus on the step that you're on in the phase that you're in, and then you move to the next step and you do one at a time. You can't get up a staircase by spreading your legs wider. The only way you get up a staircase is by putting one foot in front of the other and actually making motion forward.
That was a really good analogy. I was picturing Will Ferrell in the movie Elf when he's doing the splits on the escalator. That's what I'm going to think of all the time, but that's so true. What good does it do to sprinkle a little bit in various areas? Like that's just sprinkling.
Mhm.
Nothing's getting wet. Oh gosh, the analogies are something else today. Okay, and then Kelsey, she's getting $3,000. She wants to know if she uses it for her quick and dirty, or does she pay off a couple smaller credit cards?
Ah, let me tell you, the amount of humility it takes me. You know, when you like write a book and you're like, do this, and then you put a course together and you're like, do this, and then somebody new comes in and they're like, what should I do? And you're like, I already told you to do this. I did. You're remembering the hours during the pandemic. You were like sweating over these paragraphs and writing it in a way that was hopefully making money sound fun. And then it goes to the editor and you're like, whatever. And then somebody comes in and they're like, but what if I do this? And I'm mostly just teasing Kelsey. If you're new here, of course, you probably haven't got that far in each of the things yet. And this money appeared and you need your answer now. And in this case, you're not going to pay off smaller credit cards. I know that would feel really good. But if you don't have your quick and dirty together, essentially what your quick and dirty is it's the thing that allows you to now not use credit. If you are still using credit and you don't have your quick and dirty together and you use it to pay off down these credit cards and then something happens, you're just going to use the credit cards. So we're
Mhm.
not actually building any money muscles at all. We're doing a Zumba class. We're not lifting weights here. You know what I mean? And I need you to lift weights. I need you to get stronger financially. No shame to Zumba. Zumba's hard as hell. But if we're looking at getting stronger, we wouldn't go to Zumba class. If we're looking at getting stronger, we would look at picking up something slightly heavier than we're capable of carrying now so that we can build up the muscle so that we can carry those heavy things later. Those heavy things being your retirement on your back. That's what we want to be able to carry. So what I want you to do in this case, Kelsey, is I want you to make sure that you're budgeting. You've got to get that budget together, your cash flow plan, your spending plan. You're going to find all of that in the phase 1 videos in the program, or you can read the book, Get the Hell Out of Debt, and it's all in the phase 1 part of the book. You've got to get that together so that that can increase your net worth, because then what would happen is you would realize once that quick and dirty is together, the rest of that cash has got to make your net worth go up. And it's going to go up by paying down one of the credit cards. I mean, if you can knock off a couple of them, great. But you've got to do it in the order. You got to go up the staircase. You can't go sideways on the staircase. You got to go up the staircase. And so we want to get you there. So in your case, I'm so happy you're getting that $3,000. You deserve it. I want you to have it. I want you to receive it, but I want you to use it wisely. So definitely take care of that quick and dirty first. Make sure you're not using credit cards for expenses.
Mhm.
That's why that budget's going to be important. And then work on paying them off.
I find though too that people that do that extra work to fill their quick and dirty are the people that are ultimately super successful. So it's nice that she's getting that money, but I worry a little bit for Kelsey that she hasn't done the work to fill the quick and dirty like the rest of us have.
Well, then what she's got to do then is the work that she would have done for the quick and dirty, she's
Yeah.
then got to do for the credit cards. Whatever the equivalent of the quick and dirty is, let's do that work. Here's the thing about the quick and dirty is the people who do the quick and dirty properly, which is if you're brand new here and you're like, why do they keep talking about this quick and dirty? What is this quick and dirty? You can join us in the program. Carrie will put a link in the show notes for you to join us in the program so you can see. And before everybody's like, oh, she's always selling this program. Listen, 3 ways to join the program. You can pay me 99 bucks one time, lifetime access. You can pay us what you can. or you can pay nothing and be sponsored into the program. So I'm not promoting anything. And when you give us the $99, if you're one of those people who give it, we use that to help sponsor people in the program. So Carrie and I aren't here like, oh, let's get rich off of broke people. That's not why we're doing this. We're here to help you. So join us in the program. But what's cool about this is, so the quick and dirty is one of the first things you'll do in the program. You're going to do your budget and you're going to do your net worth. Those are the two tools you need to build wealth. So we're going to learn them now. We're going to start working those two tools now to get us out of debt. But then that way they're a habit and ingrained. So when it comes time to build wealth, you know what you're doing. But what you're going to do is you're going to get the equivalent of one paycheck together. And we say one paycheck because that's usually how much the average North American anyway, or the average person in the developed world is behind. We're living paycheck to paycheck, and we got to get you out of that cycle. Whether you're paid weekly or monthly or whatever, that one paycheck, you're going to put together in something called a safe zone, which is a bank account that's not at the current institution that you bank with. And it's going to be no fee. Like you're not going to jump through any hoops. It's got to be a no fee bank account. And there are lots of them that exist in the world. So that's a Google exercise for you later today. When you realize how much your bank is ripping you off on bank fees, you're going to be so glad you found one of these. But anyway, you take the equivalent of one paycheck and you deposit it in that safe zone and you don't touch it. And that money is there so that later, if you do have an emergency that you would have typically put on your credit card, you've now got the cash to do it. And the amount of relief this brings participants in the program is so cool. Some people who like, I have a hard time parting with that money. That's their own block. We work through that in a different way. But the point is that it's there for you. And then now you're going to start paying off debt. And there's a bunch of different ways you can pay off the debt. And we teach you all the different ways. And then you pick the way that feels right for you based on your own money psychology. How you've been relating with money in the past will determine how you need to pay this debt off. And then you start paying it off. And the quick and dirty piece, we tell you, try not to use your regular budgeted money for that. We want you to get really resourceful. We want you to like sell stuff, come up with something creatively, create a service, or do whatever you got to do. Maybe you have to work overtime, whatever you got to do to get really resourceful to get that money. And the people who do it and are really, really successful at it end up being the wealthiest people. Because once they realize, holy cow, I scraped together $1,500 in 5 days. If I did that every month, took 5 days and just grinded it out and had $1,500, I'd be financially free in no time. That's its own muscle, that resourcefulness muscle. Once you start to do that, you get really, really successful in this program because you start to see opportunity instead of lack. And when your mind is trained to see opportunity, more opportunity is going to come your way.
You know, the only thing I could think of is you're talking about my geese being in the backyard.
What?
We have a bobcat in the neighborhood. What if the bobcat got my goose?
Do you know, the other night I woke up at like 2 or 3 in the morning and I could hear this child screaming, and we live right beside a playground. So I
Yeah.
like bolted up, and the amount of times, like Jared will tell you, like I'm like, if there was a show called Playground 911 or something, I would be like sprinting in slow motion to the playground with my first aid kit that I keep by the door. You know, kids hurt themselves all the time, and I just
Yeah.
keep Band-Aids. I've just learned because sometimes you see parents outside with a kid with a skinned knee and they're looking around. So I just bolt outside. I was even thinking of like affixing it to my fence, being like, here's some Band-Aids for mom. You know what I mean?
Oh,
But anyway, I hear the screaming. So bolt up out of bed and I'm ready to go to the playground. Why is somebody at the playground at 3 o'clock in the morning? This is
yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
And then I realize it's coming from out back. And so I go, this whole rigmarole happens. I am the worst at remembering that we have an alarm system, even though we've had it for years. The amount of times I open the door and trip my own alarm is too many to count. But I open the patio door and I look outside and there's all these animals, but I can't really see what they are. But I trip the alarm. So I go back in and code the alarm and come back out. And by then, a lot of them have dispersed. All that was left was a leg of a
No.
little dog. I know, that got chewed up.
What was it? Was it
Coyotes.
I was gonna say it's the coyotes because there's bobcats where we live
Oh,
too.
maybe it was, I don't know. It sounded like they were making that ooh sound, which I thought was a baby screaming.
Yeah, no, that's not a
Sure.
baby. I think that you need to remember what babies sound like. Has it been that
It's been a
long?
while. It's been a while.